Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sean Day9 Plot right here, not only presenting the answers to last week's Q&A, the very first Q&A, but also it's my birthday. Oh my god, I'm going to get some cake after this and I'm going to eat it. It's going to be awesome. But either way, this is the Day 9 Q&A on YouTube especially, where I post these videos to answer your questions, and if you are interested in submitting a question, just put it right down there in the comments, and whatever ones get voted all the way to the very top, whichever one have the most likes, I answer in the next week. So this week I'm taking the top four. Two of them are non-StarCraft questions, two of them are StarCraft questions. So let us jump directly into them. So the first question by Gnarpig says, what happened to your long, sexy hair that was in the HDH showmatch pic? Well, for any of you who don't know what I'm talking about, this photo surfaced from when I was at the World Cyber Games Grand Final in Singapore for StarCraft 1. This was probably the farthest I've ever traveled for a tournament was Singapore. So I was really tired and I'd forgotten my razor, and my hair was kind of long because I was a college student and it hadn't really been cut in a while. So I had this very shaggy look, and the photographer caught me at this angle that actually made me look attractive. So I was like, yeah. But I think the most notable thing about that picture is that I had highlights in my hair, and you guys are going to make fun of me for this, and that's totally fine because I deserve it. But I was highlighting my hair in ninth grade of high school. I highlighted my hair for 6 years. I was like midway through college when I just said, I should just cut it and let it be brown. And now it's been that way ever since. And I don't really know why I highlighted it. I just sort of did. And it's not like I went outside and people were like, oh, look, you have that very natural hair. I would spend most of my time playing video games at my computer, or hanging out with my friends who played video games at their computers at LAN parties, or we'd go to the arcade. But man, that highlighted hair looked real natural then. Whew, looked fancy. Might regrow it, don't know. Depends on whether I run out of money and just let it grow out again. We shall see. But the next question from flushentitypacket asks if I have any home videos of myself or my brother Tasteless as kids. You know, that reminds me of when I was when Nick and I were kids. My mom got us this video camera, and we made tons of like little movies that are hidden on those mini DV tapes somewhere in the basement. So I definitely am going to go check those out. I'd almost completely forgotten about them. But for instance, when I was a kid, I wanted to make movies, and my production studio was going to be called Mostarg. Movies of Sean that are really good. I loved acronyms as a kid. Third question, an actual StarCraft question by Sledge Starfighter, says, hey Day9, for someone like me who has close to zero RTS experience but wants to eventually play on a competitive level, what would be the best way to start to learn StarCraft 2? Or RTS in general, really? And what would be the best way to continue to improve at a somewhat fast rate? This, I think, is a fabulous question. This is going to be coming up a lot as StarCraft 2 really becomes like the premier esport game out there. People just want to get into it. So there are two different modes of thought. The first one's pretty easy. Just make StarCraft your primary form of entertainment. You might play 1v1s competitively, 2v2s to kind of socialize with your friends. You might play use map settings when you're tired of competing and just do stuff for fun. But you'll end up with a wide variety of play, all of which will be slowly building your skill sets for the game in general. And over time, you will, sort of trickle up in skill. But then there's the actual, hey, I want to sit down and get good at this game. And there's three big things I would recommend. The first one is, if you actually want to get good, set some goals for yourself, but make sure they're reasonable goals. So if you're like a copper level player, absolute bottom league level, you should say something like, in 2 months, I want to be in the silver league. Set yourself a goal like that. This is assuming you have school and other commitments going on, but at least it's something to keep you motivated. Or let's say you're in a diamond league, right? Let's say you're a player who coincidentally just feels pretty good with the interface and got into the diamond league, but you're not feeling very comfortable. Just say, well, I want to get 1800 in my diamond league in the next 2 weeks. Set yourself some sort of goal like that, because this will naturally motivate you to move forward. The second thing is begin participating in little miniature tournaments or in clan league matches. Join a team and start playing in team leagues, because that little bit of added pressure is so motivating and so exciting. For instance, if you play in a tournament and you win 2 rounds and you get to like the quarterfinals and you lose, it feels bad at the time. You're kind of like, oh, but an hour later, you're just like, oh man, I really want to get back on and play again. And it's very, very exciting to get the chance to actually progress. Or even in a team league, you get the chance to experience not just losing under pressure and getting used to the idea of losing to help you improve, but you also get the chance to contribute to this team effort. And even if you screw up, your team might win. And if you win and help your team win, it's one of the best feelings ever, and you get some people to celebrate with. And the third thing, similar to what I was saying before, join a team and get some people to play with, because if you have like a little social group that you can slowly progress forward with, you're going to do great. I'm currently, as of the recording of this video, I'm not on any Starcraft 2 team, but I have probably 5 to 10 really close Starcraft 2 buddies that I'm always discussing strategies with, and you'll always hear me mention them in my daily casts. And that is a huge motivator for me as well. Because even if I'm, not thinking about StarCraft, suddenly Jinro will message me and go, hey, what do you think about strategy blah? And I'll go, huh? And all of a sudden my brain will be working on StarCraft again. So the last question by JRC Mayor 4 says, Dear Day 9, we haven't seen a whole lot of Reaper play as compared to other infantry units. Aside from the delayed Reaper scouting tactic or just early Reaper harass, are there any effective mid to late game uses of the Reaper? Do they continue to be effective throughout the game? So, first of all, I'm going to explain why we don't see a lot of Reaper harass in those later stages. It's because in the mid stages of the game, probably the most important thing is just that you have a good base composition for your army. So, for instance, lots of tanks, marines, and medevacs. Or, like, marauders, ghosts, and ravens. I mean, these are completely different compositions that behave in different ways when you go into battle, and people are still trying to figure out what's good in that fashion. So, with Reapers, you don't get to the stage where you try to put harassment in until you have a solid foundation. If you try to figure out ways to get Reaper harass to work first, then you just end up with this noodly weak play that's very flimsy. So I think that, maybe a few months from now, especially when the release of the game happens, we'll start seeing a lot more of them, especially on maps like Desert Oasis, where there's all sorts of long walk paths, but the cliff paths are pretty short. I've seen really good Terran players suddenly get, like, 8 or 9 Reapers with that speed upgrade and just run in and kill off a hatchery, take out a bunch of drones and a queen, and still be able to run away. So that is super, 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 super effective. And another just thought I want to throw out there for Reapers. Reapers don't really cost that many minerals. So it's always a great trick to do, is let's say you have 4 barracks with tech labs nonstop producing marauders, and that makes you broke. Do a production cycle of all Reapers. Do 4 Reapers, 1 in each of those barracks, and in that time you'll build up some money so you can expand. And then you can harass with these 4 Reapers to distract your opponent while you're getting your expansion up, and everything's fine and dandy. So just some general thoughts to think about. Begin incorporating them, but only after you get a solid foundation. So that's going to wrap up the Q&A for this week. Definitely post your questions for the next week, and whatever one's voted up, I shall answer. So see you next week, and happy birthday to me! Goodbye, everybody. Ah!